All right. So have you ever wished you could just like download the habits of people who are super wealthy and just like have them
just install them?
You install them exactly like a program or something.
Right.
Well, today we're going to dive into 20 habits that can totally transform your financial future.
Yeah.
And these are all pulled from a podcast that's all about building wealth.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you're going to want to like take some notes on this one.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, this is a good one. It's fascinating because like these habits, they aren't about winning the lottery or anything like that. They're really more about like mindset shifts and actions that anybody can take.
Exactly. It's not about like getting lucky. It's about what you do consistently.
Yeah.
So we're going to cover all 20 habits, but we're going to like really unpack the ones that have the most surprising insights or things you can actually start doing today.
Awesome.
So habit number 1 is all about waking up early.
Okay.
Now, I know you probably heard this before, but just stick with me. This isn't just about having more time. It's about having better time.
Right.
What do you think about that?
I totally agree. I think about those first few hours of the day before the emails start coming in and like everyone wants a piece of you.
Mm-hmm.
That's really when your focus is like at its sharpest.
Yeah.
It's prime time to do that deep work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the podcast host actually had some really great examples of this. Like a lot of high achievers use those early hours for like strategic planning, tackling their toughest tasks, or even just getting a workout in before the chaos of the day hits.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It makes total sense if you think about it, right? Like, imagine if you start your day feeling calm and in control instead of like playing catch up from the moment you open your eyes.
Totally. And hey, maybe you'll try it out and you discover you're like a total night owl.
Yeah.
Not a morning person,
right.
But just the act of being intentional about your time.
Yes.
That's a step in the right direction.
I agree.
Okay, so let's move on to habit number 2, setting clear goals.
Okay.
Now, have you heard the saying that like writing down your goals makes you more likely to achieve them?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's not just like some magical trick or anything.
Right.
It's about transforming these like vague aspirations you might have into concrete plans. So like instead of just saying, oh, I want to be rich.
Yeah.
You have to ask yourself, well, what does rich actually mean to me?
Yeah.
Like, what's the specific number? What kind of lifestyle do I want? What's the feeling I'm actually aiming for?
I love that. It's like instead of wishing on a shooting star, you're like plotting a course to that star.
Exactly.
I love that analogy. So think about this for a second. If you had to pick one financial goal to focus on after this deep dive, what would it be?
Ooh, that's good.
Yeah.
And don't be afraid to get super specific about it.
Yeah.
Like, let's say you want to buy a house.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. What kind of house, in what neighborhood, by what date?
Yes.
The more detail you add, the easier it is to break that big goal down into smaller, actionable steps.
Yeah, totally. Okay, so habit number 3, and this one's near and dear to my heart, is reading daily.
Okay.
So the podcast host actually brought up Warren Buffett, the guy's worth billions, and he reportedly reads 500 pages a day.
Wow.
It's a lot.
That's impressive.
It is impressive, but, it just highlights how much successful people prioritize continuous learning.
Yeah, knowledge is power, right?
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to finances.
Exactly. It's like having access to the cheat codes for life.
Right.
Like you could be reading a book by someone who's already achieved what you want to achieve. They're sharing their mistakes, their strategies, their insights, all for like the price of a book.
It's a steal.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to be 500 pages a day.
No.
Even 15 minutes can make a difference.
Yeah, for sure.
Maybe you swap out scrolling social media with like reading a few articles about investing, or you listen to a podcast during your commute, things like that.
I love that. You're basically like turning dead time into learning time.
Exactly. Speaking of investing in yourself, that's habit number 4, and it goes beyond just reading.
Okay.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, absolutely. I think this one's about becoming more valuable in the marketplace. So maybe you take a course to level up your skills, learn a new language to open up global opportunities, or even just like work on your public speaking.
Yeah.
To become a more confident leader.
Totally. It's like that saying, the best investment you can make is in yourself.
Yeah.
And the returns on that investment can be absolutely massive.
For sure.
Both financially and personally.
I couldn't agree more.
Yeah.
It's about investing in your future earning potential and your overall growth as a person.
All right, habit number 5 might ruffle some feathers. living below your means.
Right.
Now, there's this misconception that all wealthy people are just throwing money around on luxury yachts and private jets, right? Like just living this lavish lifestyle.
Yeah, the stereotype.
What do you think about that?
Well, while there's certainly some flashy spenders out there,
Yeah.
the reality is that a lot of the truly wealthy are incredibly disciplined with their money.
Yeah.
They prioritize building wealth over showing it off.
Yeah, the podcast host actually shared some stories about millionaires who drive modest cars and live in like relatively average homes.
Interesting.
They're not trying to impress anyone. They're focused on that long-term financial security.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which frees up more of their income to invest and grow their wealth, right?
Exactly.
It's a powerful reminder that you don't have to sacrifice your lifestyle to build wealth. You might need to make some conscious choices about where your money's going.
Totally. So what can our listener do to start living below their means?
Okay, great question.
Like, are there any practical tips they can implement right away?
Definitely.
Yeah.
So first, start tracking your spending.
Okay.
You can use an app, a spreadsheet, or even just a notebook. The key is to get a clear picture of where your money is actually going each month.
So know where the leaks are.
Exactly. Once you know where the money's going, then you can start making adjustments.
Okay.
Maybe you find a cheaper cell phone plan, or you cut back on eating out. Or even just brew your own coffee instead of buying it every day.
Yeah.
Small changes can add up to big savings over time.
Totally. And what about that whole like delayed gratification thing?
Oh yeah, that's a big one. The podcast host talked about the 30-day rule.
Okay.
So if you're thinking about making a big purchase, wait 30 days before you actually buy it.
Oh, I love that.
That's a good one.
Because often that urge to buy will pass.
Yes.
Or you'll realize you don't actually need it as much as you thought you did.
Exactly. And it's a great way to avoid those impulse purchases and ensure you're spending your money on things that truly align with your values.
Okay. Habit number 6, networking with the right people.
Oh, this is a good one.
We've all heard that saying your network is your net worth, right?
Oh yeah, for sure.
And the podcast host really emphasized surrounding yourself with people who inspire and challenge you. They even called it curating your circle of influence.
Ooh, I like that.
Which I thought was pretty clever.
Yeah, it is. It's a powerful idea.
Yeah.
The people you spend time with, they have a huge impact on your mindset, your beliefs, and ultimately your success.
Yeah.
Think about it. Like if you're constantly surrounded by people who are complaining, gossiping, and settling for mediocrity, it's going to be tough to break free from that mentality.
Yeah. You kind of get sucked into that.
For sure.
So how does the listener go about curating their circle of influence?
Okay, good question.
Like any actionable advice?
Well, first, take a hard look at your current network.
Okay.
Ask yourself, who are the people who lift me up? Who are the people who drain my energy?
Yeah.
Who are the people who are already achieving the things that I want to achieve?
That's a great starting point. It's like a network audit.
Yeah.
Get rid of the toxic connections and make space for the ones that fuel your growth.
Exactly. And then think about how you can expand your network to include more people who align with your goals. You join some industry groups, attend conferences, or even just reach out to someone whose work you admire.
Yeah.
And invite them for a virtual coffee chat.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, habit number 7 is all about avoiding debt.
Okay.
Now, before you panic, the podcast host clarified that it's not about never using debt.
Right.
It's about using it wisely to build wealth, not drain it.
I agree. There's a big difference between good debt and bad debt.
Totally.
Good debt, like a mortgage on a rental property or a student loan, for a degree that will increase your earning potential. That can be a strategic tool for building wealth.
While bad debt, like high-interest credit card debt or loans for depreciating assets, that can really weigh you down and make it so much harder to achieve your financial goals.
Right. The key is to understand the difference and make informed decisions about when and how to use debt.
So if someone is struggling with debt right now, what's their first step?
They need to create a plan to get out of debt. This might involve consolidating their debt, negotiating lower interest rates, or even seeking professional help from a financial advisor.
That makes sense. It's like before you can start building a solid financial foundation, you need to clear away any existing cracks or damage.
Precisely. A strong financial foundation is built on a solid understanding of debt and how to manage it effectively.
All right, we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
And we're just getting started.
I know.
We'll be back soon to dive into the rest of these wealth-building habits.
Yeah, wait.
All right, so welcome back. We're uncovering 20 habits that can seriously boost your financial future. And trust me, this next batch is all about getting your mind right.
Oh yeah, these habits are fascinating because they're not really about like specific financial strategies or anything.
Right.
It's more about like cultivating the right mindset for wealth building.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So habit number 8 is thinking long term. The podcast host really hammered home the idea that wealthy people don't chase quick riches. They play a long game.
Yeah, they understand that real wealth is built over time through consistent effort and patient investing. It's like planting a tree. You know, you don't expect to harvest fruit the next day.
Right.
You nurture it, you give it time, and eventually it bears fruit.
Yeah, it's about delaying gratification, right? Being willing to like put in the work now for a bigger payoff down the road.
Exactly. And this ties in nicely with habit number 9, which is all about taking calculated risks.
Okay, so it's not about being reckless or gambling with your money.
No, not at all.
It's about making smart, informed decisions that have the potential for big rewards.
Precisely. The podcast host shared this amazing story about this woman who quit her corporate job to start her own business.
Wow.
Everyone thought she was crazy.
Yeah.
But she had done her research, she had a solid plan, and she was willing to take the leap.
So she was scared, but she did it anyway.
Exactly. And guess what?
What?
Her business took off.
That's awesome.
She's now making more money than she ever did at her corporate job, and she's doing work that she loves.
That's so inspiring. It just shows that sometimes the biggest risk is not taking any risks at all.
I agree.
Okay, so let's talk about habit number 10. Consistency is key. I feel like this is something we hear a lot in the personal development world, but it's especially true when it comes to finances.
Absolutely. Building wealth, it's not about hitting a home run overnight. It's about showing up every day and making small, consistent progress towards your goals.
Yeah, the podcast host used this analogy of a snowball rolling down a hill.
Okay.
At first it's small and doesn't seem like much, but as it rolls, it picks up more snow and momentum.
Yeah.
And eventually becomes like this unstoppable force.
It's a perfect analogy for how consistency, even in small doses, can lead to incredible results over time.
Yeah.
Whether it's saving a little bit each month, investing regularly, or working on your side hustle, consistency is what separates those who succeed from those who don't.
Totally. Okay, habit number 11 is something I think we can all relate to. Avoiding distractions in this age of social media and constant notifications. It's so easy to get pulled off track.
It's so true. The podcast host actually called distractions wealth killers.
Ooh.
And I think that's a brilliant way to put it. Every time you give in to a distraction, you're essentially stealing time and energy away from your financial goals.
So how do we fight back against these wealth killers?
That's a good question.
Any tips for our listener?
Well, first, you need to become aware of your biggest distractions. What are the things that suck you in and waste your time? Is it social media? Netflix, constantly checking email?
Yeah, all of the above.
Right? Once you know your weaknesses, you can start creating strategies to manage them. Maybe you set specific times for checking social media, or you turn off notifications during work hours. The key is to be proactive and create an environment that supports your focus and productivity.
All right, habit number 12, having multiple streams of income. This is something I hear a lot, but honestly, it can feel kind of overwhelming. Like, where do you even start?
I understand, but the core principle here is diversification.
Okay.
The podcast host emphasized that most millionaires don't rely on a single paycheck. They have investments, side businesses, rental properties, multiple streams of income that create financial stability.
So it's like having a safety net.
Exactly. If one income source dries up, you've got others to fall back on.
Right, and you don't have to start big.
No, not at all.
Maybe you pick up a freelance gig in your spare time, or you start selling crafts online.
Yeah, get creative.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's about getting creative and finding ways to leverage your skills and interests to generate that additional income. Okay, habit number 13 is a classic saving and investing.
Okay.
But I have a feeling the podcast host put a unique spin on this one.
You're right. They talked about how wealthy people don't just save money, they make their money work for them.
Okay.
They invest it in assets that generate passive income and appreciate in value over time.
So it's not about hoarding cash under your mattress.
No.
It's about putting your money to work in a way that builds wealth.
Exactly. And that's where investing comes in, whether it's stocks, real estate, or even investing in your own business. The key is to find assets that align with your risk tolerance and your financial goals.
So even if you're not earning a massive salary, you can still build wealth through smart investing.
Absolutely. And the earlier you start, the better, thanks to the power of compound interest.
All right, habit number 14 is a tough one, but I think it's crucial learning from failures.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get discouraged and give up when things don't go as planned.
Yeah, but the podcast host stressed that successful people, They view failure as a stepping stone to success.
Oh, okay.
They don't let it define them. They analyze what went wrong, extract valuable lessons, and use those lessons to improve their approach.
So it's about turning setbacks into opportunities for growth.
Exactly. The podcast host shared a quote from Thomas Edison, the inventor of the light bulb.
Okay.
He said, "I have not failed. I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work."
Wow, that's a great reminder that failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the process. Okay, habit number 15 is something I'm personally working on, staying healthy.
It's so important, and not just for your physical well-being, but for your financial health as well. The podcast host put it simply, health is wealth.
I love that they talked about how wealthy people prioritize their health because they know that when they're feeling good physically and mentally, they're more productive, more creative, and better able to make sound decisions.
And they're less likely to incur costly medical expenses down the road.
So it's a win-win. Investing in your health is an investment in your overall well-being and financial security. Okay, habit number 16 might surprise some people, being generous. There's a stereotype that wealthy people are greedy and selfish, but the podcast host argued the opposite.
They shared numerous examples of wealthy individuals who are incredibly generous with their time, money, and resources. They support charities, they mentor others, they invest in their communities.
And their generosity often comes back to them tenfold, both financially and personally.
It's like the law of attraction in action. The more you give, the more you receive.
Okay, habit number 17 is another classic, managing your time wisely. We all have the same 24 hours in a day.
Right.
But some people seem to squeeze so much more out of theirs.
Yeah, the podcast host emphasized that wealthy people view their time as their most valuable asset, and they're incredibly intentional about how they use it. They plan their days, they delegate tasks, they eliminate time wasters.
And they're not afraid to say no to things that don't align with their goals.
Exactly. They understand that every yes is a no to something else.
Okay. Habit number 18 might sound a little woo-woo, but I think it's incredibly powerful, developing a positive mindset.
Yeah, the podcast host said it best wealth starts in the mind.
Ooh.
They believe that your thoughts and beliefs shape your reality.
So if you believe in abundance, you're more likely to attract it. If you approach challenges with optimism and confidence, you're more likely to overcome them.
It's about cultivating a growth mindset and believing in your ability to achieve your goals. Okay, we're in the home stretch now. Habit number 19 is all about taking action.
Yeah, the podcast host made it clear that ideas are worthless without execution. You can have the best ideas in the world, but if you don't take action, they'll just stay dreams.
Right. They shared a quote that really resonated with me. The graveyard is filled with unrealized potential.
Wow, that's powerful. It's a reminder that we need to move beyond thinking and planning and start taking concrete steps towards our goals.
Exactly. And that leads us perfectly into habit number 20, which is perhaps the most important of all, never giving up.
Yeah, the podcast host shared countless stories of successful people who faced setbacks, obstacles, and failures along the way, but they never gave up on their dreams. They persevered, they learned from their mistakes, and they eventually achieved what they set out to do.
It's a powerful reminder that success is a journey, not a destination. There will be bumps in the road, but the key is to keep moving forward even when it gets tough.
So the only way to fail is to quit.
Exactly. As long as you keep going, as long as you never give up, you're still in the game.
Wow, we've covered so much ground here today.
I know, it's a lot.
But I think it's important to just let these insights sink in,
Yeah.
to really process everything we've learned.
You're right. We need to take a moment to digest all of this valuable information before we wrap things up.
Okay, so we're back, and wow, we've explored some serious wealth-building wisdom today. 20 habits all pulled from a podcast dedicated to this very topic.
Yeah, it's amazing how these habits kind of touch on so many different areas of life, right?
Totally.
Like from mindset to actions to long-term strategies.
But if there's one overarching takeaway, it's that building wealth isn't about luck.
Right.
Or being born with a silver spoon. It's about making conscious choices and building the right habits.
Exactly. And that's what's so empowering about this whole deep dive. It gives you a roadmap, a set of tools you can use to create the financial future you want.
So as we wrap up, let's pose a challenge to you. If you could only pick 3 of these habits to focus on this week, which ones would have the biggest impact on your life right now?
That's a great question. It forces you to prioritize, to really think about which habits align with your current goals and circumstances.
Yeah, maybe you're really feeling the weight of debt right now. So Habit number 7, avoiding debt, is at the top of your list. Or maybe you're feeling scattered and overwhelmed. So, habit number 11, avoiding distractions, is calling your name.
There's no right or wrong answer here. The key is to choose habits that resonate with you and that you feel like you can actually implement.
And remember, even small changes can make a big difference over time. Don't try to overhaul your entire life overnight.
Right.
Pick 1 or 2 habits and really commit to them.
Consistency is key. Building wealth is a marathon, not a sprint.
We'd love to hear from you. Head over to our social media pages and tell us which 3 habits you're choosing and why.
Yeah, let's keep this conversation going and support each other on this journey to financial freedom.
Until next time, keep diving deep.